passed it around to raise money for the cause, you know, and I was a little concerned. He looked a little bit disreputable. And sure enough, he was. But he helped me fight a long time, and Tammy and Mary's here, a lot of the Fort Worth poets, we gave them hell. It cost them $11 billion before they got that plant finalized, and that was in 1992 dollars. So we kept them open for a long time, and Kell was an important part of that. I want to read a little bit from a book called Implacitus. And if you look at it, I've got some copies here. There's a picture of Kell and Jason Eklund slipping around the corner up at Dome Valley in Placitas. And this book is about some poetry we did. And it's about a realization that I came to. You know, when I first met Kell, I couldn't tell who he was. And he didn't really know, I don't think. I couldn't be for sure. So September 14th, 1991, we set up a powerful reading at the Schuler Theater in Raton, New Mexico. Tony Moffett was there. He's here. It was a really great night. At the end of that, we headed for Placitas. And he told me that a lot of his books were over at Tom's in the library. And he had one particular book he wanted to show me that would kind of prove who he was. And this is the story of that. The slide is not that good for reading it.
You want my headlight?
I remember sitting at the table hungover the next morning after a reading we'd done, and Kell blew about the loss of his friend John and the loss of his manuscript and songs, and we walked and opened the door to the library, and Kell surveyed the bookcases there, and he said, "This is the book I want." And he went over to the bookcase and he looked through the doorway, and there was a book. He said, "I'm in this book." A couple of places. And he held up the book for me to examine the cover. And see that picture there? That's a famous photograph of the poets outside City Lights bookstore. And there I am right there. And he pointed to a young man in a cowboy hat and dark glasses, the young Kell Robertson. And that reminded me of the photo of Kell at the coffee house back in '59. Listen to this. And he read proudly from the book. Kell's a poet who lives on the fringes of North Beach, tumbleweeding it in from Phoenix or Santa Fe or El Paso every 6 months or so. He lives in the San Gotard's Hotel with a hot plate, a guitar, and volumes of songs and poetry. His voice is a part of every room. And in the evening, he sits in his room and plays his guitar, singing. Can I see that book? And I held it, and I knew that the Frisco Kid was the connection I was looking for, the evidence that Kell's tales of North Beach were real as well as the myth. And Campster said, "When I listen to Kell sing, I'm reminded of a certain loneliness, a desperation that seems to well up out of a space too large, too big, that seems incapable of holding anything. And what I hear when Kell sings is it lonesomeness, a sad, flat Kansas wheatland loneliness that only boys born to those prairies knows the sound, a certain sharpness of the wind at night." You know that, don't you?
Yeah! Yeah! What's the other one?
Kell was a part of the North Beach poetry scene, a real part, a most important part. If he had wanted to be famous, he could have been. But he loved the subterranean world that Kerouac introduced him to. And I loved it too. I taught Kell Robertson's work at the University of New Mexico in the spring of
Well, they were
1971
lucky students.
in a book called Focus Media, published in San Francisco. I did my master's thesis on a man named Jack Kerouac. I wrote the first literary study of Kerouac in May of 1969 called Jack Kerouac, A Social Reaction. I was entranced with the beat movement as a college student. And then 17 years later, I'm reading poetry with one of the old beats. And it was a dream fulfilled. And we traveled lots of roads, read every bar in New Mexico we could find, and some bookstores and every other place. This is a piece that his friend Don Garrett wrote. And it's called I Think of You. And it's about Kell. When the fog drifts through the chill, when the fog drifts through and the chill grips your bones, when your fingers are too brittle and you're searching around for your pick on the ground, I think of you. I think of Kell. When you're sitting there, unlike someone, and folks just think you're a bum, I think of you. And when some young stud struts up and says, "Give me that guitar. Give it to somebody that can really play." When you submit to a Hank Williams request and start in "I'm so lonesome I could cry," and all the little colored kids just shake their heads and wonder and put their hands over their ears, and the white kids start to run off, I think of you, Kell. And when they start shaking their booty at me in the name of country music and glitter takes the place of rain, and they mock out some pain and everything is so slick and in place, and the lights are so bright it blinds your face, I think of you. There are riverboat gamblers. There are passengers who play it safe. There are those who shake a lot of noise and make a lot of noise and just can't wait. And I think of you. I think of Kell. I think of Woody. I think of all these old ghosts who mean more and seem more real than these pampered lambs that stroll by howling what they have a place to go and more place to stay. And when your wife keeps saying, "Speak up, I can't understand you," when the wind blows over the high plains and you feel like the coyotes understand more than those two-legged creatures on the sidewalk, when nobody knows with God forever on his throne and Jesus is near, I still think of you, all who have come and gone down that road before you sing about it when midnight comes at noon and you're the last one on earth under the moon. I think of you. Okay.
Kell.